Now, the next presenter is a lovely lady, Madam Vivian Patel. She would be speaking on the post-COVID revival of demand for castor oil in China. And she would be speaking on behalf of Mr. Wang, one of the biggest buyers from a company called Hengshui Jinhua from China. Over to you, Vivian Patel.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vivian from Hengshui Jinhua Chemical. Today, I will, on behalf of my president, Mr. Wang, to share some current China information. And first of all, thank you very much for this special conference arranged by Dr. Mehta during this special lockdown period times. And really thank you for that. And today, current situation in China, I think just Mr. Abe and Mr. Thomas already shared the global about under the epidemic, how is the corona going on. So I will not repeat about that. And today I will talking about now China currently economy and about the castor plantation and for subsidy assets current situation and about the consumption import and forecast. Next slide, please. First of all, let me to briefly introduce about my companies. I think today online maybe some new friend. And Jinhua Chemical is the largest producer for subsidy assets in the world. In the 2020, we have produced 42,000 tons, and in the 2020, we have from January to May, we have produced in 60,000 tons. Consumption above the castor oil 32,000 tons. Next, please. And here, I think near the days, we can see lists announced from the Indian TV and the news can see how is the corona going on in China. Recently, as of June 13th, June 2020, now remaining only 120 cases, confirmed cases. I think recently, last 2 weeks, and have a second wave from Beijing area. It also is basically controlled with limited impact, so it's not need very much. And according to China GDPs, now is the first quarter have to follow by 6.8%. It's the first negative growth since quarterly being in 1992. Next slide, please. China is the largest trade in the goods. This year, growth will be mainly relied on the domestic market demand. And since in the from the April, the situation have controlled under control. The China took a series of measures to boost economy for growth. Here, I just want to explain the first slide that I celebrated the development of digital information felicity. This is mainly only talking about talking about the 5G station. Until the end of the 2020, China will construct the 5G station about 2.3 lakhs. The other measures, I think, is similar like India due to the corona lockdown and announced by the Indian government. Taxes reduce long, give postpone to pay. It's similar. So next slide, please. About the China castor planting in China, and take a look at the situation of China castor planting in 2020. And the last 2020 and 2019, due to the showing period from April until September, it was a global market, it was a high castor oil price. So it's the production rose back to 60,000 tons. But in the first quarter 2019 in China harvest times, the global market have fell off a cliff. The farmers have got causing great loss. So affected by this in the 2020, nobody interested to sowing. So we believe that affected by the declare in the domestic international market, and 2020 will be minimized for the showing. Next slide, please. And China is the biggest consumer of the castor oil, and more than 90% of castor oil depend on the import. Next slide, please. Affected by the global economic downturn and the epidemic situation, China demand for castor oil is declining. From Jan to May 2020, the import of castor oil totally is 94,000 tons around. And since geochem data is slightly smaller than the custom data, the accurate customers impact of castor oil in the Jan to May were more than 94,000 tons, and less than 12% declares. Here I want to say that it was worth noting that this year declared for 12,000 tons by the fall compared to 2019. But you can see from 2019 you compare 2018 is falling by 40,000 tons. Totally in last 3 years, China import castor oil in the same period have reduced almost 52,000 tons. And what's the reason why the such quantity have to declared for 2020? And the next slide, please. I think I make a simple photograph, so then you can understand why, what's the reason. First, the corona due to China lockdown is from February to April, around 100 days. And then next to, in fact, the global situation start of corona as well. And the supply chain, the largest supplier, Indian, have to lock down from 23rd of March. So due to the biggest supply country for castor oil suddenly locked down, and the supply side is locked. And the shipping company have also announced that the taxes that stop port to port. So transportation, supply, and the demand, double shocks of supply and the demand. The raw materials oil in short supply in the board. So whole domestic supply in the infancy. So in addition, through the corona situation in China has been under control since April, but the demand of castor oil processing product in the domestic market has not improved, as some downstream product of domestic customers are also export to the foreign country. Next slide, please. In terms of application field of castor oil, the 60% user is for subsidiary assets. Our Jinhua Chemical is the largest producer of the subsidiary assets. During January to May 2020, we have produced 60,000 tons in this substitution. And compared to last year same period, only 2,400 tons is produced. And the total China production is 32,000 tons. And compared to last year same period, 50% declared, and 5,700 tons oil have to be decreased. And for castor oil consumption decreased by 11,000 tons. Next, please. The decrease in subsidiary assets production is due to decline in the market demand in the distribution of subsidiary assets from January to April. You can see that China have reduced 28% and compared to last year, except USA and Europe, that other areas oil is declared. But why USA and EU from Jan to April have increased? Because they are worried due to the lockdown in China, the factory have stopped the productions, restrictions have increased the purchase orders. And but after, you can see, after the export data come from June, I believe that the Europe and the USA will be the demand also will be the declaring. Next slide, please. And this is everybody is interest for this point is the forecast of castor oil consumption in China. As for the forecast of China castor oil consumption in 2020, we really believe that the annual import volume of castor oil will not exceed more than 230,000 tons. And the total consumptions will be a little more than 230,000 tons. This is a level of 2015 and the lowest demand in the past 5 years. The total demand of castor oil in 2020 is expected to be 12% lower than 2019. Around the subsidy reduced the demand for the castor oil by about 15,000 to 20,000 tons. The demand of castor oil will be increased slightly. Next slide, please. So from here, we can understand for the application of castor oil in China, next, please. From this chapter, you can see that the remaining subsidy gases remaining 60%. Here, China direct about toilets, China direct import toilets in 2019 was about 15,000 tons. But this year, the import toilets from India will be less. This part will be increasing the consumption of the China consumption about the oil. And in addition with the increased demand of other ships in China, the amount of castor oil used in this field will be increased as well. Next, please. This is a forecast for the price outlook. I think in February conference time, the price range around 1150 up down. And from March 23rd, then India have started lockdown and slowly released the 4.0. That time the factory, I think from 15 or around April, the Indian factory have started slowly recovered receptions. So that time during the April, the price have touched 1,300 to 1,400. Again, when the lockdown, all the factory got permission to resume the work, the price again slightly come down. So this year, the castor seed exceeds for the demand. So according to the market normal condition, the price of castor oil tending lower. And this chapter have to showing the summarized in the last 8 years. So this and also is this year good lower price, good crop size, also provide a good opportunity for the manufacturer for increase the castor inventory. Also this year, I think it's very good for our farmers. In Indian government passed the amendment basic commodity law. So farmers now can become the trader. Farmers can freedom to sell to anyone. So now is why just Mr. Abe had to say now without demand, the supply is stable, then the domestic market have increased. So this all basis by our farmers. So this, I think, is very good news that for our farmers in this situation, the lower prices and they are getting opportunity to get more profit. And next slide. So here we have some suggestions, and also I want to say that now is during 2019, the monsoon times, the castor oil price is very high. So the farmer has very much interest into sowing the castor. That's why this year, 2020, we have to get very good crops. But what about the next year? Now is the monsoon already started in Gujarat. The price in the last 5 years is lower. And also the government gave MSP price is very high to other commodities. And I see the first round showing report, the ground nuts have to already show 40%. So what about this year? So we are really suggest our castor oil enterprise should do something to increase the inventory, to try to cover more quantities, to increase the price during this season, to give some our farmers hope. So then they can continue to sowing the castor seed and protect our own industries. And here is the last slide. I want to announce that now already in China have found subsidic acids produced from non-castor oil. I think this will be impact on the oil price and the oil demand as well. So next slide. So this is what we want to share to everyone. And also the last message, everyone stay safe, stay home, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Vivian, for those wonderful words. In fact, this news of sebacic acid being made from alternate source apart from castor is actually news for all of us. This could be a very interesting development going forward. And I'm sure your advice of buying more beans and buying more oil to help the Indian farmer should be good news for the Indian farmers, and it should encourage them to plant more. Thank you, Vivian, very much.